Hi everyone, Jean Bromage of Reiki Essence Healing Arts, and today I'd like to share some reflections about the upcoming new moon in Pisces, as well as the equinox that's taking place this week. And then also to take you through some guided imagery and embodiment to just work with where you might be at this time, to find some softening within yourself, and to also open up to some clarity. So, Pisces marks the end of the astrological calendar. So, even if you aren't familiar with astrology, the sun is in Pisces and it's about to move into Aries, which marks the beginning of the astrological calendar and the spring equinox. And in many ways, this is considered like Mother Nature's new year. So it's like we've traveled through the winter months and all of the inner beginnings, the inner work that we've done is now ready to sprout and come into actual three-dimensional manifestation, so to speak. And so this dance from the formless to the form is what happens when we're moving from Pisces to Aries. And there's been a lot of planetary activity going on at this time with some of the bigger outer planets. And so this new moon in as it's even though it's in Pisces and the sun is about to move into Aries, um, it's supporting that us through that process this time around. And so this new moon is really inviting us to explore how we dance from formless to form. It's like with quantum physics, how do atoms come, appear and then disappear? And so it's like, how do we reset ourselves? How do we come back to ourselves and then move out again into the world and then come back and then move out? And each time we go through that process of co-creative process of emerging, of something emerging into form, an idea that we have, or some dream that we have, or just a desire that we have that is starting out on the mental plane or in the formless plane. And then how do we begin that process, and what is our relationship to that process of coming from the realm of all possibility to then having that meet the three-dimensional realm. And with everything that's been happening in the world, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of concern, there's feelings of helplessness, hopelessness. And um, I have been reflecting on that this week and how that can leave us frozen. And then the this whole dance between winter and spring that we go through, especially in the month of March, which can be a little challenging. We go from really warm days to blustery winter days again, those late winter snowstorms. And so there's this struggle, right, between the moving from winter to spring. And it's, again, that dance from the formless to form. And I was going for a walk yesterday and just really taking delight in that mushy softness of the earth. E. Cummings has that poem that I love where he uses the term mud luscious. And I always think of that poem at this time of year because the earth is finally softening. That cold frozen feeling under our feet is starting to soften with the warmth of the sun. And this is that moment where all the elements of nature are coming together to create that softening so that we can then, like the seed, can then break open and leave the form that it's in to come into a new form of whatever plant it is. So that's just a reflection, an example, a metaphor for us as we go through this dance of co-creation, of dancing from the formless to the form. And what is our relationship to that? And how can we extend grace and compassion to ourselves when there is fear and we feel like we have to go into protective mode and stay, in that in the old form, because we don't know, we don't have clarity of where it is safe to open up and expand and grow at this time, because there is so much uncertainty in the world. So where do you feel safe to take a risk and to let go of old identities or old patterns or old situations that are no longer healthy, that you're no longer thriving in them, but you are also unclear of what unknowns are ahead of you. And so feeling that courage, which is Aries energy, to be able to break open and break through to something new, and to allow yourself to have that experience, despite what outer circumstances might be mirroring back to you. So this first step this week, I really feel like, is about tuning into your body and tuning into your emotions, and really meeting them unconditionally with grace and with love, to allow those places in your mind, in your body, and in your emotions to soften, and use that energy, that presence of grace, and that being unconditional with yourself, to allow whatever needs to soften and to begin to release and unwind. That just doing that alone can be enough to help you begin to experience wholeness once again, and to feel that energy, that courage that's needed to step into something new this spring. Um, and I also want to invite the idea of slowing down, and because the outer world is so moving so rapidly, and there's so much uncertainty, that it's like we want to be the center of the storm, that calm center of the storm. And in order to do that, it's offering ourselves time and space to slow down, and to use that space to allow for that softening to happen. It's the idea that we soften with strength. So it's like the branch of the tree that bends, and so it still holds its strength, it still holds its form, but it also has its flexibility and its softness around the edges, so that it can move within the chaos and still maintain its center. Um, so, with that, I'd like to just invite you to drop your eyelids, or just soften your gaze, and just place your left hand on your heart, or your non dominant hand on your heart, and just take a few deep breaths into your heart center, but also still feeling the strength of your skeletal system, your spine. So even if you're opening and softening in your heart, you still have the support of your skeletal system. So it's not that you're collapsing, you're just resting on your bones and softening in your heart. And now I want to invite you to imagine yourself taking a walk in nature. And it's one of those warmish early spring days where you can really feel the muddy softness of the earth under your feet. And you can feel the warmth of the sun on your skin. And as you walk, you find a clearing, and it's by a river, a gently flowing river. And you find a rock that's you can sit on. And as you sit on the rock, you can feel that warmth, that deepening of the warmth of the sun on your body. And as you gaze down at the river, you see the final remnants of any ice just drifting along the river. And as you visualize that melting ice, you feel a melting in your body. And so just take a moment now to reflect on some areas of your life where you feel like you've gone into protective mode, or where you've been compartmentalizing in order to just keep going, keep surviving in the world. And just reflect on those areas where you're experiencing fear or worry or grief or grievance. And as you do, begin to scan your body and see where you might be holding tightness in relationship to that situation. Maybe it's in your heart or in your shoulders, or maybe it's in your belly or your lower back or your hips. So just begin to scan your body and see where you might be holding tension. Or maybe it's in your throat chakra or your neck or your head. And just as you breathe, just allow that warmth of the sun to just move to those areas of your body and begin to help them to melt, to soften, and to allow for just a gentle, loving flow of energy to move into those spaces in your body. And just breathe and just allow that softening to happen. That softening without any agenda, except to just give it some compassion so that it can begin to release its grip on you. You may even wish to place your hand on that area of your body to just encourage it to soften a little more with each breath. And then you may find some other areas of your body where you're holding that same kind of tension. And just allow that warmth of the sun to move into those places and allow them to begin to soften. And now I invite you in the space that you've entered to gaze down at the river once again. And as you do, you see this beautiful, shimmering, sparkling light on the water. It's just dancing on the water and shimmering like diamonds. And you're reminded of that dance between the formless and form. And just think about the spring and this fresh new growth and energy that's coming through, that's reflected in Mother Nature. And what in your life is ready to dance from the formless to form? What is ready to take shape in your life? And just to breathe and contemplate and reflect as you gaze at the light dancing on the water. And what courage do you need to allow for the new to take shape and form in your life? And as you reflect on that, just place your right hand now on your solar plexus and return your left hand to your heart. And breathe between those two places, knowing that you can have both courage and compassion, grace and light to support your process during these turbulent times, so that you can still carve out a space for joy and growth and expansion. And then taking a few more deep breaths and bringing your attention back in to the room that you're in, the position that your body is in, and gently open your eyes. So I want to thank you for joining me for this guided meditation. And you may have heard my cat Gracie in the background, who wanted to be a part of the process. And she does this every time I record these now. It's like she sits by the computer and then she jumps down and then she starts to sing her song. And I'm starting to accept it as part of the process. But in the meantime, I want to wish you a beautiful spring with any new beginnings, new signs of hope in your life, of joy, of expansion, and of healing and of experiencing wholeness. So if you are going through a challenging time, to allow this fresh new energy to remind you that even if you are going through a challenging time, that the flowers are still there for you to offer the gifts of joy, even in times of darkness. And if you enjoyed this guided meditation and you happen to be in New York City, we have our next energy reset circle happening this Thursday, and we're going to be continuing this work that I've done here in this video of softening in the heart, and connecting with the elements of nature. And one of my Reiki master graduates, Alexandra, and I are going to be doing some live drumming while you do some shamanic journeying, to find the clarity on what it is that you need to have that energetic support as we step into spring and the idea of new beginnings. Have a beautiful rest of your week if you've stayed with me through the end of this video, and I look forward to meeting you here next time. Take care. Bye.